Hello, my name is Skarpantre and I make comedy videos using art as visuals. They usually contain drawings and animations, 2D and 3D. I know what you're thinking. Skarpantre? What a weird name. But just like every other artist, my art skill wasn't like this when I started. Here, let me show you one of my first videos. So my second one. And now my latest. Can you guess how much time passed between the two? 5 years? 10 years? Or maybe even 11? Ah, stop it. Only 2 years! Using free software only. Yes, even for this background. How did I do that? And how could you do the same? Well, stay tuned because this is the story of my art journey. And art tips that I wish I knew earlier. If you're a beginner artist or someone who wants to learn digital art sometime, this video is for you because I'll be covering a lot of things. If you don't want to hear the entire story, skip there when I start the art tips. So let's begin, shall we? There was this dark tunnel and light at the end. Then a doctor appeared. No, that's too far. Kindergarten. Ever since my parents introduced me to crayons, I've been drawing so much, like this much. My parents got rid of them because they took up too much space, but even as a kid, I agreed. I wish I could show you any of these drawings, but maybe it's for the best, because they look something like this. Moving on, primary and middle school. I wasn't great at art, I was just okay. In most of my classes there was just a single art kid, and then the rest of the class who didn't really draw at all. So I was there, but I wasn't drawing much anyway. Mostly just caricatures of teachers I didn't like. If you didn't do that, you had no childhood, am I right? Only 90s kids remember. I'm joking. I wasn't sketching back then, nor I was any good, but I really loved those 3D shapes we learned from maths. I found it funny how many kids couldn't see that they are meant to be 3D, so I drew some shapes and the kids were like, "Hey! Whoa! Now can you draw me?" And since this was math class, I drew stuff like these using the lines of the booklet. This one was more like pixel art, but this one was more like 3-dimensional. If you have a few pages of a math booklet, you should totally try this. But moving on, high school is cool! Yeah! Now this is where it gets interesting. It was a few years after Facebook got popular. I know. Remember Facebook? It's the site that made you start using Twitter because your parents kept tagging you in the most awkward family photos and think that every boy, girl or anime icon you talk to is your crush. I was in an art group on that site for all kinds of art. Drawing, painting, digital art, even tattoos and sculpting. People posted some incredible stuff there, even those hyper-realistic ones where it was sometimes really hard to decide if it's a picture or a painting. Everything was welcome there, except those weird DeviantArt Sonic and Shrek fetish drawings. So it was quite a big group. But then I saw something a lot. When someone posted mediocre art, which was way above my level at that time, well, they got wrecked. Valid criticism is great because they know what they should focus on to improve, if it's delivered in a respectful way. But half the time they got more than one comments like, "Ew, why are you even in this group? Maybe art isn't for you. You suck. You suck. Delete Facebook from your computer." Or just quit. Seeing that just made me not really want to get into art at all. And I didn't. Because I knew my current skill wasn't nearly as good as those who got those comments. Now I grew a thicker skin, but for beginner artists, that can easily make someone quit. Or not start at all, like me. Give criticism to anyone, but in my opinion you should encourage beginners and give them tips to do better, instead of trying to convince them that you're better than them and they will never be as good as you. My diagnosis? You suck at drawing. Okay, but can I do anything about it? I can give you one tip. Don't call yourself an artist until you can paint the Mona Lisa with closed eyes, only from memory. Oh, and don't even think of digital painting. Digital art isn't real art. Back in my days I had 7 jobs and raised 5 kids by your age, you lazy millennials. Why doesn't anyone want to be my friend? But when I was 15 or 16, that's when my art phase happened. It's not a phase, mom. I watched a lot of tutorials on YouTube, mostly from this guy called Mark Crowley. Shout out to you if you watch his videos too. Watching those videos made me think that drawing is actually easier than I thought, because he makes it look so easy. But it's not. I bought a drawing book, got myself all the different pencils I needed, and I skipped practicing the basic shapes and anatomy and shading and stuff, because how boring they are. So I just ended up drawing things only from references. I wasn't tracing, but I couldn't come up with my own ideas. Plus I couldn't even draw anything correctly without looking at references. I'm not saying references are bad, even the best artists use references. Feel free to correct me, but I don't know any artist who can draw a motherboard with all its tiny components, only from memory. Art is all about inspection, and you cannot draw something if you don't know how does it look like. But I just couldn't draw anything on my own. I was basically just tracing, without tracing, if that makes sense. So after a few weeks, I quit. It was just a phase, mom. Moving on. IT school. In that school we had a lot of free time, because we didn't get homework. Like, at all. Okay, we had like 10 times a year, but I know, right? That was awesome! I kinda started feeling bad about gaming and stuff, because I wanted to do something meaningful in my free time. So I was looking for a hobby. I'm not saying gaming can't get you anywhere, like, I'm not sure if you know Ninja, or esports in general. I know, right? Esports? Like, nerds play video games? Who's interested in watching that? I just wanna watch real sport tournaments, like chess. I can hit snooze one more time, it's not even 6. So I tried a few hobbies that aren't expensive, or I already have the equipment for them, and guess what? I gave up on them. But, do you know what's in common with hobbies? You always have to start learning the very basics and practice them until you get used to them. Because if you aren't good at the basics, then you will have to come back to learn them again, because you might be doing something completely wrong, since you skipped the tutorial stage. Also that you don't need the most expensive gear to start, and to get skilled at them. Photography is a good example. If you don't know the basics like angles, the lighting and ratios, it doesn't matter how much your camera costs, you won't take better pictures. It's also very true for drawing. This is all you really need to start, and it is enough to become a master. Also time. A lot of time. Another very important thing to keep in mind, you don't naturally be good at anything for the first try. Your first digital drawing, it will be bad, just like everyone else's was. Sure, some people might be talented, but quoting someone, talent can be taken as a multiplier. But anything multiplied by 0 is still 0. So you can only get good at something if you practice it enough. Take it like a skill level, as in Skyrim. You get experience points anytime you do it. But back to the story, I was interested in 3 things. Computers, comedy and art. Kind of. It was a long time since I drew anything on paper, and I didn't know anything about digital art. Or even that drawing tablets exist. With all that experience and knowledge, I started my channel. And this is basically where I started digital art. I was using a mouse, and since I knew from school that Gimp was a free drawing software, I used that, without knowing how to use it. Now, drawing with a mouse is a terrible idea for 2 reasons. 1. It sucks to draw with. Obviously. Your lines are going to be very wavy and inconsistent. Except if you use a vector graphic drawing software like Inkscape where you basically just edit your lines. It's very time consuming and it's more like editing than drawing really. Second, it's unergonomic and unhealthy for your hands if you draw a lot. So if you are drawing with a mouse, you can get carpal tunnels way easier than if you were drawing with a tablet. Kids, if you want to convince your parents to buy you a drawing tablet, now you know what to say. At first, I didn't care about the quality of my art in my videos. My main goal was to make them funny and tell jokes visually. But after quite a few videos, I realized that I just can't get better at drawing. My lines are still choppy and anytime I watch the tutorial, they just draw a single line and it's like perfection. How? And even their coloring is better for some reason. Why is mine worse? Okay, now grab your sticky notes because I'm going to start giving art tips. One major mistake I think every beginner does first is this. I just use the paint bucket to color. But there's a problem. There are these white or transparent pixels left there and it looks very ugly. Now, how could I fix that? Well, draw line art on one layer and then make another layer under it. Then use the paint bucket. And now you can just draw over the edges to fill those gaps without ruining the line art. Also, some programs like FireAlpaca has this expand feature that basically expands your paint bucket reach by 1 to 3 pixels. So that is done. Use a lot of layers, but don't get lost and especially watch out not to draw on the wrong layer. But my lines were still terrible. At this point, I really wanted to get a drawing tablet, but they are so expensive. So after getting my first paycheck, I bought this Wacom Intuos Draw Small. While it was shipping, I was worried that it might be too small and I wouldn't be able to draw with it normally. But the medium one was way too expensive, like over half of my monthly paycheck expensive. So yeah, I got the tablet and look at it! It's not yellowish white or void black or sparkly gray, like most computer gadgets used to be, but it's colorful, yay! I'm gonna do this, I'll finally be an artist now. But my lines didn't get that much better. This is the first video I made with my tablet. You can tell the lines are better, but they aren't very good. I was thinking, still, why is that when the ad one's out and every artist I see drawing draws a single line and it's smooth and perfect? Why? Why are my lines not like theirs? What am I doing wrong? Is it that I have this small tablet? Probably, because my lines with the normal pencil are smooth. Why did I even buy this? Then I heard that you should draw lines quickly, so I tried. It didn't solve my problem, but it's a great tip and it is true. To draw straight lines instead of wavy lines, you have to draw quickly and smash Ctrl Z until you draw the line you wanted. Then YouTube randomly recommended me videos by Leslie Lumery where she was using this pretty cool drawing software called FireAlpaca. So I tried it and I loved it, because my art got suddenly better, mostly because of one feature. Gimp probably has this too, maybe I just didn't know about it. I'm sure most drawing softwares do as well have the stabilizer or correction feature. It basically just draws the line slightly behind your cursor so it can make it smoother depending on how strong your setting is. But it doesn't work well with a mouse, so you need a tablet to use it. So use it! That's how we went from this to this. It's way simpler than I thought. After that I got very motivated, so I just kept drawing more. I got a few tips from other artists and I still watched a lot of tutorials. But by the way, it is the same tablet I'm using up to this day. See? You don't need a fancy display tablet to get good at it. Sure, it must make it easier and better, but if you can draw with something like this, then you won't suddenly be a better artist with this. After that, I had a very hard time finding my own art style because I've seen artists with all their cool and unique styles, while I was just drawing lines and coloring them. But that's what an art style is. It's the way you draw. It's something that you'll grow into, like a signature. On the way, I tried new things, new brushes, new software for my videos. Currently I'm using Audacity, Levelator, HitFilm Express, Blender, FireAlpaca and sometimes Gimp, but I should be using Krita because how powerful it is. These are all free and very powerful software, so I can absolutely recommend trying them. After drawing a lot, my nib got worn out, so I had to replace it. I'm just saying this because a lot of people doesn't know that your tablet probably came with free replaceable nibs and a nib puller. So there you go, don't waste them because nibs are quite expensive actually. Okay, not too expensive, but after you see the price tag on that 5 tiny bit of plastic... What? A single nib can last up to 1 year actually. Just don't press too hard on your tablet and try not to scribble too much. I ran into a lot of tablet driver issues, which are very common. I haven't heard of anyone who didn't have a tablet driver issue of some kind. For me, it's like, while I'm drawing, sometimes I notice that the stabilizer stopped working. But Christy has a great video on how to fix many driver problems. Link below. If nothing works, restart your PC after you saved everything. It's very important. If still nothing, then delete and reinstall the driver. And very important, if you buy a new tablet, be sure to delete every previous tablet driver before you install the new one, or it just won't work. So yeah, once I got good enough at drawing, a great artist, seriously, check out her art, it's unbelievable. She told me that my drawings are good enough, so I should move on to color theory to get good at coloring, because it is very important. And she was right, it's super important to know how to color. That video taught me not to use oversaturated colors for everything, but mostly for the important things in a drawing, because they catch your attention. Saturation is easy to understand. If you look at this color selection window, this line is the hue selection. After we pick the hue, in this window if you pick a color you want, you can increase brightness by going up. And you can increase the saturation if you go to the right. So saturation is basically how strong a color is. If I only use saturated colors for a scene, then look how crowded and weird it looks like. So I started using this range of colors a lot, which I rarely touched before. Also, I learned not to shade with black or white, except if you are going for a very specific style. But most of the time, shading with black and white is just ugly. But instead try shading with a brighter or darker version of another color. Like if you look at white things, no, not me, like snow, you might think shadows can only be gray, but look at how blue those shadows are. So, here I am just using a clipping layer with a very dark blue on this white here. I lower the opacity so it isn't that dark, and look at how more natural that looks like over this one with just a gray shading. It's also very true for plants. They are green, but actually they have way more yellow in them than you would think first. And it isn't just true for realism, it's also true for cartoony styles. Like, I painted this grass behind me with a little bit of yellow, so it looks better. All of this did improve my art a lot, but I still felt like I'm just mediocre. By the way, you probably noticed that I'm really into drawing vehicles like cars and starships. The way I draw my vehicles is almost like 3D modeling, but drawn in 2D. The best tip I can give for that is to practice drawing cubes, rectangles and basic shapes from all angles. And not only like this. This is fine too, but this is an orthographic view of a cube. Here all of the sides look equal, but this is not how a cube looks like. The best way to understand this is to look at a cube. Obviously. Here in Blender I'm switching between orthographic and perspectivic view. If we take a screenshot of the perspectivic view and trace over the lines of the cube, now see the difference? It's even more obvious on the larger scale. You can definitely see that this is how it would look like in real life. And this doesn't really look alright. Call the doctor! In order to draw objects accurately, learn how to use vanishing points and perspective grids. Always start with something simple first. If you start out with something super complicated for the first time, you will realize that you can't do it. And it's not because you're bad at it, it's just that you didn't progress enough to get to that level. Just like you can't fly a plane with a driving license, even if you're a good driver. Shortly after that, we get to this drawing, which is actually made about half a year earlier than this video you're watching. Lately, I got the hang of using 3D for my videos. I learned CAD at my IT school. I'm pretty sure that helped me a lot with understanding 3D environments and modeling, even though CAD software and Blender are so different. I realized how all of this really needs a certain kind of mentality of not giving up and constantly trying to improve. You should really be proud of what you draw, but also look at it from the eye of a critic, so you can notice what could you spend more time on to get better at. If you don't quite feel like that is you, You can grow into it if you really want to. Like I did. I was such a quitter at anything I did. Is it the perspective? Is it the colors? The ratios? I didn't practice characters or vehicles enough? These are questions even the best artists ask to themselves. And if you make mistakes or fail, who cares? You can try again as many times as you want. Art is a never-ending study of observing everything around you to see the details and experimenting with new things. The next time you go out for a walk, take a closer look at the cracks of a stone. So the next time you draw a stone, you will have a better understanding of it. It's hard. No one said it's going to be easy. But that is what makes it special if you don't give up. So step out of your comfort zone, study everything and draw them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And subscribe for more comedy videos if you enjoy my weird humor and accent. I have a playlist of tutorials I collected, you can find it below if you're interested. But you have a lot more resources to study from anyway, like there's the internet now. You don't have to buy books and visit masters to learn from them. If I said something wrong, let me know and I'll add it to the pinned comment. So check it out. Thank you so much to Reed Flower, she helped me a lot with this script and without her critic, this video would have been a disaster. Her videos are fantastic, so check out her channel if you haven't already. Sorry I couldn't make a papercraft series for this video, but I just really wanted to get it out because it's been too long since I uploaded. Except for the box head of Pinely. I know many of you are here from his video, so thank you so much. His videos aren't family friendly, but if you don't mind that, his videos are amazing. It's like comedy but with characters and skits. It's a crime that he only has 16k subs. Thank you so much for watching and have an easy day.